Yeah, would you come on up? Hey, you come up to the podium. Tell you new.
Sorry.
Everybody love that podium.
Not used to that.
Come on.
I'd like to say thank you very much, and I'm open for questions. I think that's
It'd be great if you just said your name.
Javed Majid. And I'm not sure how much information everybody need, but I've just moved in here, so this is my first day actually in the office.
All right, well, thank you. Well, welcome. See?
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right.
And if no other question, I'd be happy to sit with.
Yes, all right, thank you. Want to make sure. He sure does, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, ordinance is on the final reading. Item A.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1400 North Chamberlain Avenue from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone, subject to certain conditions.
All right, that is final reading. That is in District 9.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Madam Clerk, ordinances on the first reading. Item A.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 5, alcoholic beverages relating to the beer board.
All right, Councilwoman Burrs.
Move approval.
Oh, right. It was, they did want to defer for 1 week.
Oh, that's
All right,
right. Sorry,
Mr.
Chris.
Anderson.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Next week, right?
Madam Chair, if I may ask a question of the attorney.
Sure.
I want to know if this is the preferred way to move forward, to just defer everything, if that meets the public notice requirement for the amendment.
Yes, the problem, at least on this amendment, is within 48 hours of the time, and under the new state law provisions, we have to have at least 48 hours in advance of any significant changes in the ordinance, and that's something I believe would be warranted.
But by publishing it for today, it's fine for next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me rescind my motion.
All right, thank you.
Please. I don't know if I had a second, but I don't think so.
No, you didn't, so that's fine. All right. Yeah.
God, getting ahead of move to defer for 1 week. Is that what you want, Chris?
Yeah. Okay, it's been motioned and properly second to defer for 1 week. Councilman Smith.
Thank you. Let me just clarify. Chris, are you asking if this is deferred for 1 week, that the version that we see next week will already be amended?
Not necessarily, Councilman. I was making sure, since I've already submitted the amendment in writing, I just want to make sure that it's included. It's perhaps an alternate version, whatever you prefer.
That's what I'm asking. Would you prefer for this to be an alternate version, since it has to be, I mean, it's first reading anyways? Is that going to be a problem?
It makes no
Phil?
difference to me. It's the will of the council.
No, and if you want to call it, since we already had the first version on, we can do it as an alternate version.
Let's do that if you don't mind, Madam Chair, if you're amenable.
Alternate version for today or for next week?
No, for next week.
All right, alternate version for next week. Yes, that is fine. All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All in favor for deferral for 1 week? All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item B.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 35, relative to the record board.
Okay, Madam Vice Chair.
I move to defer this item for 1 week.
All right, then motion and properly second to defer for 1 week. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Madam Clerk, come my favorite one. Resolutions, item A.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Chattanooga approving a memorandum of understanding relating to the financing and development of a multi-use stadium.
Councilman Ledford.
Move to approve.
All right, it's been motion and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Woo, motion carries. Are they here? Thank you. Woo. Wow, that's great. Thank you all so much. We're very excited about that. All right, Madam Clerk, on the Human Resources, item B.
A resolution authorizing revisions to the Employee Information Guide, EIG, Policy 7, Employment Actions with related table of contents updates to be effective upon approval.
All right, Council, you've heard the reading.
Move to approve.
It's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, we'll take items C, D, and E as a group if there are no objections. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item C, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of John Hale to the Community Advisory Committee, Region 2, Shallowford, for a term beginning on February 28, 2024, and ending on February 27, 2025. Item D, A resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of Ryan Perry to the Community Advisory Committee, Region 5 South, for a term beginning on February 28th, 2024, and ending on February 27th, 2026. Item E, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of Linda Bullard to the Community Advisory Committee, Region 6, Bushtown Glenwood, for a term beginning on February 28th, 2024, and ending on February 27th, 2025.
All right, you've heard the reading.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item F.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a subrecipient agreement with Erlanger Community Health Centers to support the goals of the City of Chattanooga's CARE Coalition to address health disparities in Chattanooga through work in health literacy, health data, and continued COVID-19 response for an amount not to exceed $150,000.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we've come to purchases. All right, see Julia coming on down.
Good afternoon, council. We have 5 purchases for approval this evening. The first is from the Fleet Management Division of Public Works. This is a 2-year contract renewal with Pandora's European Motorsports for leasing police motorcycles. Apologies. This includes a supplier requested price increase of 2% as stated in the original bid. The new annual estimated amount will be $160,000. Second is from the Fleet Management Division of Public Works. This is a purchase of 4 2025 Autocar ACX 64 with Heel 28 cubic yard Durapack Python side loading body refuse trucks in the amount of $1,672,000. $1,672,000 for use by the Solid Waste Division of Public Works. This purchase is utilizing Sourcewell contract number 110223-THC. The third is from the Street Maintenance Division of Public Works. The Street Maintenance Division is asking to increase the annual concrete spend by $600,000 due to unforeseen usage of the concrete contracts for projects across the city. The new annual spend for the first year will be $1 million. The fourth is from the Street Maintenance Division of Public Works. This year 3 contract renewal with Tennessee Valley Ice Company includes a supplier request for a price increase of 8% due to the increase in labor and delivery expenses and to retain good and dependable employees. The new annual estimated amount will be $54,000. The fifth and final purchase is from the Chattanooga Fire Department. This will be a one-time purchase of firefighter protective gear from Siddons Martin Emergency Group for use by the Chattanooga Fire Department for an annual cost estimate of $168,000. This purchase will be utilizing Sourcewell contract Fire-DEX 032620-FDX Sourcewell Q.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
We do have one emergency purchase to report. This is actually an increase on a prior emergency purchase from the Fleet Management Division of Public Works. This is an increase of $23,900 for truck rentals needed due to repairs being made on 3 garbage trucks awaiting parts. The original request was reported to council on January 30th of this year as an emergency purchase of $30,700. The new total for purchase 134277 is $54,600. Thank you.
All right, we have RFP, Julia.
Apologies, the RFP was not included with what I had from purchasing this evening. Do have one RFP format recommended for approval from Parks and Outdoors. The Public Arts Division of the Parks and Outdoors Department is soliciting artists for the Lynbrook Park Public Art Project. Each artist will approach the work differently, and it will be up to the selection panel to determine which artist is the best fit for the project.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Julia. All right, we've come to committee reports. Councilman Henderson. Councilman Smith. All right, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did hold our second work session today on the new and proposed zoning code, and we are expecting work session number 3 to be held on March 26th at 1 p.m. in the Collins Conference Room as the previous 2. Public is always invited to join us, and we will then continue our work as we move through the new zoning tools and the process to approve them.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester?
No report.
Councilwoman Coonrod? No vote. All right. Yes, go vote. Councilwoman O?
No report.
Councilwoman Byrd?
No report.
Madam Vice Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Want to make a public announcement that this Thursday at 6 o'clock, we will have a public meeting to have a presentation on proposals for Fraser Avenue traffic patterns and a public discussion of those proposals. That will be at 6 o'clock this Thursday at the Philip Grimes Outdoor Chattanooga Center in Coolidge Park. There will be brownies. Please join us.
All right. All right, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. All right, now comes time for people wishing to address the council. If you would like to address the council, please line up behind this podium here as our attorney reads the rules.
Sure. At the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council. Here's your rules. Each speaker wishing to address the council can only be recognized at the microphone up front that is provided for that purpose. Can't have more than 3 minutes to speak, and you can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not on matters which are not under their authority or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Don't engage in any vulgar or obscene language nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. Address the council as a whole and not make comments directed towards individual council members. And lastly, do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited by Tennessee law. And someone commits that offense if a person substantially obstructs or interferes with a meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having stated those rules, go right ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Dr. Charlotte Shadnellen Nzinga in Yaboki Williams, Board Chair of Caleb. Our housing proposal is a sincere attempt to take seriously the proposals the city has offered. Public resources and changes in decision-making can make the city of Chattanooga the most important actor in promoting a city that's growing for all of us, rather than a city that's moving us out of the way. We are here because we want to see a city that's working for all of us. Aspirations and false promises aren't going to cut it. We want concrete action. I present to you on behalf of Caleb a message of hope. Our community can make decisions that significantly expand housing opportunities for the majority of the people. We need people who are brave enough and courageous enough to fight for the people and the resources that can make that happen. Right now, in Chattanooga, Tennessee, there is a housing crisis. When Jesus or Yahshua walked on earth, one of the things he said was, foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Well, if Jesus or Yahshua was to return to earth today, he wouldn't have a place to lay his head in Chattanooga, Tennessee, because there is a housing problem. How can we enjoy the beauty and prosperity of Chattanooga when income is too low and rent is too high? How can we claim to be one Chattanooga when the rich gets richer and the poor keeps getting poorer? There are two Chattanoogas between the haves and the have-nots. We have too few haves and too many have-nots. Yet we say affordable housing. Affordable to who? The average minimum wage in Chattanooga, Tennessee is between $7.25 and $10 an hour if they work 40 hours a week. Yet in most part of Chattanooga, there is a standard minimum income requirement, which is 3 times the monthly rent. The average rent in Chattanooga is $1,700, meaning that anyone earning less than $62,000 a year could not even qualify to rent an apartment. But if they can make ends meet by robbing Peter and paying Paul, they have another problem. They may have the money, but they don't have the 630 or more credit score. But what if they have a prior eviction record? Again, they do not qualify. But what if they have to pay for food, utilities, gas, health care, child care, car insurance, and home insurance, and yet they cannot afford a decent place to live? No one should have to work 3 jobs in order to afford afford a 3-bedroom apartment. It is insane to ask for anyone to have a job for each bedroom. They say pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. Well, tell them in Chattanooga you can't afford boots and rent at the same time. We
Thank you.
cannot be gig city
All
and
right,
tent
thank you, Ms.
city
Thank
at
you,
the
Doctor.
same time.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Janice Gooden. I'm Economic Mobility Co-Chair for Caleb. Last Thursday, we had a press conference on the steps of City Hall. And we outlined some of the things that were presented in the Housing Action Plan, which you know was 101 pages. And we studied it, and we just pulled out a few of some of the key points that we support. It's not that we're opposed to others, but there were just certain ones we focused on. One, the use of public subsidies to support affordable housing. The plan has a clear method for the development of long-term or permanently affordable units, but we want to see the fast tracking pilot applications for for-profit developers who only guarantee affordability for 15 to 20 years. The city should prioritize fast tracking applications by nonprofit housing organizations. We want to see the development of a community land trust. We understand that the city itself is not able to do that, but there are partners that can assist with that effort. We appreciate that the city has begun to pursue HUD funding to support a land trust model, but Caleb still views the CLT and shared equity models in general as the best way to balance the need of families to build wealth, financial stability, while ensuring that public investment supports affordability over multiple generations. We also want to see the land bank authority scaled up. That's a very essential part of addressing some of the need for infill and developing areas that have not been utilized. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Janice.
Good evening. My name is Brad Race, and I'm with the Service Employees International Union. We are the union of the general government city workers here in Chattanooga. I'm here to say, first, we appreciate your adoption of the changes to the Employee Information Guide that Councilmember Coonrod described earlier today. But we don't support what happened to a few employees who were fired without any hearing or due process after they transferred to a new position or were promoted. These employees, one you will hear from, Jason Gates, Gerald Rampersad, and Trinity Putnam. Gerald and Trinity couldn't be here because they had to take another job after they were fired. Unfortunately, they were, even though they'd worked for the city for a while, they were treated as new employees and treated as if they had no rights at all. Under the Employee Information Guide, these firings shouldn't have happened the way they did. There is a trial period when somebody promotes or transfers, but the resolution is if somebody is not doing that job satisfactorily, they should be returned to their former position. And that's not appealable, but they didn't give up their right to due process if they were terminated. Here, instead of going through some other steps, the administration summarily terminated these employees without giving them a reason or without any stated just cause. That's not what the Employee Information Guide says, and it's really not what had been done until recently. Think about it. If you're a city employee who'd worked here 10, 20, 30 years, Would you risk all of that to take a promotion with the knowledge that for the next 6 months, you could be fired and have no recourse at all? I wouldn't, and I don't think anybody else would either. Of course, I was part of the group that developed the Employee Information Guide many years ago, and this is one of the topics we talked about, and it was clear that when somebody transferred, there would be, or was promoted, there'd be a trial period, but they didn't give up their right to due process and couldn't be fired without going through the steps that are in the Employee Information Guide. The new language in the EIG is going to help, but we need to assist these employees who were treated so unfairly. There's lots of things in the Employee Information Guide that that a manager can do. There's warnings, there's counseling, there's performance improvement plans, there's even suspensions. All of those should be followed before somebody gets terminated. That wasn't done here. And even if somebody is terminated, they have the right to a hearing and a reason to be given. These employees weren't given that opportunity. Jason, Gerald, and Trinity were denied these rights that if they'd stayed in the job, they would have had, but instead they were fired without due process. They need your help.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Jason Gates. I worked for the city from June 21st, 2017 until November 3rd of this year when I was terminated by a supervisor who had something against me. I don't know what. I don't care. My plea today is to get my job back. All I want to do is be reinstated. I enjoyed working for the city. I was terminated. Like I said, I've been here for those years. I was equipment operator for stormwater downtown. Had no problems. I started here in forestry with no problems. 4 years later, I'm terminated without anything. My 3-month review, my supervisor pulled me in for my 3-month review and told me that I had the best of all of them up there. Within 3 months, I'm terminated. Now, during this time, I actually had an injury back in February of last year. I've had ankle surgery in June of last year, and recently shoulder surgery on my right shoulder to repair the damage that happened from that fall. All I want is my job back. I'm not asking for anything other than my job back. Reinstate me where I was at, put me back downtown. I'm fine. This has impacted my family. Fortunately for me, I was on IOD, so I'm still getting an income because nobody's going to hire me right now with an injury. So the others that were terminated, they didn't have that choice. They had to go find other jobs. We did the appeal process. We were denied. We asked for the Loudermill hearing. We were denied. So when I took that position, I was told there was a probation, but I've been here 4 years, and in that entire time, a probationary period meant they put you back where you came from if something went wrong. 4 years later, I take a promotion, or actually I did a lateral transfer that was posted to the public. It wasn't even an in-house transfer that had a probationary period according to the old EIG. Took my lateral transfer, no extra pay, no extra anything. Went to the landfill, and then 6 months later, I have no job. No warning whatsoever. Just pulled in for my 6-month review and handed a packet from HR and said, "Have a nice day." All I'm asking for is my job back. Nothing else. So if the attorney's worried about a lawsuit or anything, I don't want to sue. I just want to finish my career. I planned on leaving here for 25 years. Now I'm stuck.
Thank you, Jason.
Hey, City Council, John, District 9. Growing up, I was one of 9 children. I lived in a house without central heating or air conditioning. If you could see your breath outside, you could probably see your breath inside my house. We bundled up under heat blankets and often had a hot room, a room with a single space heater that we kept warm in case of emergencies. In the summer, this meant our house got sweltering, and we learned to fall asleep with the rattle of a box fan. We fell asleep to white noise before white noise was cool. Growing up, we also didn't have regular food and consistency like other people did. My mom got really creative. There was a local middle school that had a pizza day every month, and she would buy all the leftover pizza, Domino's, for $1 a pizza. And for 3 meals a day for a week, we would eat Domino's pizza. To this day, there's something wrong with Domino's pepperoni. I can't quite stomach it. And it was a hard upbringing, but we never were without shelter, and our parents stayed together and figured things out. And I'm saying that because I'm standing in solidarity with Caleb and what they're proposing for the housing plan. I didn't know the term food insecurity or housing insecurity, but I experienced it. I know that we were close, sometimes weeks away from being on the street. I know that if other family members, extended family members, didn't sit in, we would be on the street. In fact, when I moved back to the area, when I moved back to Chattanooga, I had lost my job because of COVID, and I was able to get an hourly job and get a small loan for a house. And the house that we bought was at the top of our loan approval, at the very top. 6 months later, and in order to try to get some liquid cash because work was still hard, I looked at refinancing. And we got approved for a refinancing loan higher than I could afford on my initial loan. In case you want, just to put the dots together, I gentrified myself out of my own neighborhood. I no longer could afford my own house over my head. A lot of what they're proposing is here as a stopgap and something that we need to be doing as a bare minimum, but we also need to be increasing housing across the board. Day in and day out, week in and week out, we come and hear opportunities. And instead of thinking of ways to say yes, we look at ways to say no. We say, what's the access here for emergencies? Instead of, we will approve it, find a way to get the trucks there. We will look at things and say, what will this do to the character of the neighborhood? Rather than, we will build the houses that need to be here, and then let's figure out how that character might evolve. Everyone who moves to Chattanooga seems to think that it's frozen in time and needs to stay the Chattanooga that they inherited. But we need to change to address the issues, and one of the most pressing issues right now is housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
City Council, thank you. I know that you are doing really hard work. I know that you love this community, and that's why you're here. So thank you. And I'm standing with Caleb, advocating for this affordable housing plan. My name is Chris Heinz. I am one of the pastors at Ecclesia Christian Fellowship here in Chattanooga. I grew up here in Chattanooga. This is my home. In 2017, I moved away to go to seminary. I came back, and now I can no longer afford to live here. What I pay in rent for a room is more than what I paid to rent a house in that short amount of time. And I represent, with my community, with the members of my church, folks who are being pushed out into smaller and smaller homes, are moving in with family. I mean, you know the story, you know the people. You have friends in your own community, people that you know who are being displaced. When Charles was up here speaking about CARTA, there's a lot of talk about the Chattanooga Way, and this is very Chattanooga. I mean, as you know, 1838, Chattanooga is also founded on removal and displacement. And that is still happening. It's happening here. And we're asking you to help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is April Behrens. I am the rector of Grace Episcopal Church in Brainerd, right on the CARTA line. I am also a member, and Grace is a member organization of Caleb. And I'm speaking in support of the items that Janice outlined that we hope to see included in the city's housing plan. And specifically, I want to speak in favor of federal subsidies and nonprofit development in affordable housing. In the last couple of years, a number of my parishioners and even more of my neighbors in Highland Park have been priced out of their homes. This includes elders and workers who have lived and labored in this city for decades, who can no longer afford to stay in the places where they have made their homes. Affordable housing doesn't stay affordable long enough. After the incentives have run their course, previously affordable units revert to market rate. Short-term incentives are not a durable solution. In just 5 years, 1/4 of the affordable units in this city have become unaffordable. That's a lot of people who can no longer afford housing. We request that the city prioritize and streamline opportunities for longer-term affordability, especially nonprofit development that invests back into the community when it comes to housing. We face a crisis in Chattanooga, a crisis of housing. And we hope to be in conversation with you as the city fleshes out this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Bonham. I'm a resident of Glass Farm. I'm a single mother and I work 2 jobs. I'm a waitress at a Leah restaurant and I'm also the communication specialist for Caleb. I'm here today to voice my support for one of the Housing Action Plan recommendations of a sustainable revenue stream for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. But I want to see a more clear plan for investment. I know that the budget is on the agenda in the upcoming meetings, and I wanted to express my hope that council members will vote in favor of fund allocation to the Housing Trust Fund. And I also wanted to ask you to consider more nuanced options, ways that we can create funding for the Housing Trust Fund that are consistent and that won't change as council and elected officials change. Something like stormwater that is a consistent cost to homeowners, something like a property transfer fee, something that will tie economic growth to affordable housing initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Alan Swapshire, community organizer of Caleb. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. I would like to round it up on behalf of Caleb to say that we would love to speak with you all individually. We would love to set meetings up with you all. We have sent our housing proposal to each of you all, and we definitely would love to have conversation. But I definitely would want to chime in with me being a single father of 4 teenagers and how hard it is for me to be able to afford to stay into Chattanooga. It's been plenty of times that I've wanted to move and run away, but it doesn't make sense for me to run away from my home. I love Chattanooga, and I definitely feel like Chattanooga has a lot of potential in things that we're doing, and it's a lot of great things that's going on. But I definitely want us to see some solid things that are going to happen, and that's going to be happening outside of just being proposed. We just are asking for solid things to be on the record, solid things that can move forward, that we can actually utilize, and that we can actually help others in the community move forward on. So on behalf of Caleb, I want to thank you all, but I'm definitely looking forward to us having conversation moving forward individually with you all. So thank you all for our time.
Thank you. All right, council, I don't see anyone wishing to address us. What's your pleasure?